stains in the carpet and the dashboard that I later found out was blood. For those of you who hadn't seen the other story, I bought a 2006 Dodge Ram 3500 like I'd always wanted from a DEA auction. And it turned out to have a super hot rodded motor on it. It also had a lot of modifications that were done by the smugglers, which seemed cool at the time, but ended up causing a little bit of trouble. First modification I encountered was at the first fuel stop. So I buy the truck, I take it on a test drive. It's amazing. It's got crazy power, built diesel, had a great time with it. Coming back, and it had a little bit of fuel in it. So I pull into a truck stop. I put my credit card in the pump, put the diesel thing into the fuel filler, and proceed to walk around the truck and start sort of inspecting again my new prize. I was so excited about it when I bought it and discovered the motor it had. I hadn't really looked at the other details of the truck. There was some damage done to the inside from a struggle that had happened. There were some stains in the carpet and the dashboard that I later found out was blood, but at the time I just thought it was a soft drink. There were, I had like 3 mufflers welded end to end on it, and then the headers kind of wrapped in these sort of blanket things, I guess, to kind of keep the heat signature down. It had some infrared lights mounted on the front of it like you would find on a Humvee or a Striker or something for driving around with the infrared goggles. A few other things done to it that were just done to keep it stealthy and all that. I think things were cool. So as I'm crawling around looking, I keep, the pump's still running. I'm just thinking like, man, this pump is slow. So I'm looking underneath it and I look up again. It's still pumping. So I look at the lights on the front. It's still pumping. I kind of look at some of the damage inside. The radio plate had been kicked in. The visor had been ripped off. The seat was broken. There'd been a struggle in the truck. And I'm thinking, man, this truck is slow. And I walk around the back of it, looking at some more of the exhaust system on it. And I glance over at the fuel pump to see it rapidly passing $200. Of course, that's a bit of a surprise. And I come to find out that this truck had a 67-gallon Titan fuel tank on it, one of the big extended range tanks for pulling an RV across the country or going on road trips, or maybe just driving out to the Mexican border to bring back guns or drugs or whatever. So I was in it now, so I let it fill to see how far it's going to go, and it gets to about $250. Took about 65 gallons of diesel in it. So that was a big surprise, but at least I had enough fuel to get back to Georgia without having to stop. So I get back on the road again, and again, this truck ended up having an engine with, nearest makes a difference, 700 horsepower and 1,150 something foot-pounds of torque. It was a lot of fun. So I'm having a great time just getting on the interstate and passing people and just speeding up, slowing down, just so I could speed up again. I'm having way too much fun with this truck. It's already late in the day when I left, so it gets dark pretty quickly. And one of the things I discovered was that the dashboard lights did not work. They had cut the wires to every light on the truck. So I pull over, and I'd brought my toolkit with me, so I pull over and discover that, again, the headlights, everything else had been cut except for those infrared lights. So I took some wire, wired the headlights just straight to the battery. Just at least I got lights, at least I got tail lights. But the dashboard lights weren't working. I'm like, I don't need dashboard lights. So I'm driving through the dark, and I'm in like South Alabama at this point. And the problem I'm encountering is that I have a very fast truck that wants to go fast, and I want to go to fast end, but I can't really see how fast I'm going. It's just making me nervous. So I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go pop a fuse in, get the dashboard lights back just to have something, some gauge, so I don't get a ticket. So I pull off at this little gas station out in the middle of nowhere, South Alabama. So I parked the truck at the gas pumps. I don't need fuel, of course. I got fuel for a month now, but I park it at the pumps. I got some light, and I walk into the store. And these little country stores out in the middle of nowhere, they're not your usual convenience stores just with snacks and drinks and things. They're like a little hardware store, a little general store. They got a little camping section. They got a little car repair section. They got a little hardware section. And this store is being run by 2 girls. Not to be mean towards South Alabama or any rural part of the country, but these were country girls. And they had about 12 teeth between the 2 of them. Now, the smaller one, who smiled at me, and I could tell she was hogging 8 of those 12 teeth all to herself, seemed to be going through an entire roll of scratchy tickets, just one after the other, scratching through. The one behind the register, who was not smiling, looks up at me with these kind of hollow eyes. She looked like, you remember Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure, the trucker lady. Sturdy girl, big arms. Very big arms, actually. She was wearing a sweatshirt with the neck ripped out of the sweatshirt and the arms ripped out of the sweatshirt just to kind of contain her girth and her neck and these big arms. And despite the ripped up condition of this shirt, it had a very cute Winnie the Pooh on the front. And I said, ma'am, you got some poo on your shirt. She looks down and she looks up at me with these kind of hollow eyes, and then she just smiles with those 4 teeth and said, "That's just my bare chest." And she laughed and I laughed, and I proceeded to walk to the store, and I got a big old sweet tea and a couple of bag of pork rinds, some good snacks for the road, and I bought a little packet of fuses from the automotive section right there next to the camping gear. And I walked back outside and I set the drink on the truck, and I proceeded to get to the fuse box and find the fuse for the dash lights, and I popped that fuse in. Turned the switch on the truck, and immediately smoke starts pouring out from under the dashboard. Like, I can't stop it. So I'm turning the switch off, but smoke is beginning to grow. Now my evening has just gone completely wrong. Now my brand new prize truck I'm so excited about, smoke's coming out of the dashboard, it's coming out of the vents, it's coming out of the hood. I'm running around. I go to the, it's an electrical fire. So the hood's already up, so I start tugging at the battery, and I can't get the batteries out. And I look, and there's always the fire extinguisher there by the gas pumps. That fire extinguisher's gone. I look at the other pump, that fire extinguisher's gone. I go sprinting back into the store. Now, the 2 ladies who were obviously seeing this go down, as soon as I get in the door, the lady goes, "There ain't no fire extinguishers, and don't call no 911, because we ain't got none of that neither." So I dashed back outside, I grabbed the hatchet off out of the camping. I just grabbed the hatchet and run back outside. I just took the hatchet and just hacked the battery cable, because I'm pulling at the batteries. They got the straps and the bolts. I just hacked the battery cables out of the truck, trying to contain the fire. But now the plastic's on fire. So I got my big old sweet tea and I just goosh it right in the dashboard, put out the electrical fire. And now I'm just standing there with an empty sweet tea, having just hacked up my brand new truck with just melted plastic and the reek of burnt plastic and rubber, and the gauges are all, looks like Salvador Dali painted them. They're all molded. I was gutted, to say the least. Fire's out. I go back inside, and, they kindly didn't charge me for the hatchet. They let me put it back on the shelf. I asked them, if there was a repair shop or anything like that nearby, and they talked between the 2 of them. They figured the best guess was that there was a guy up the road, but they were pretty sure he was in prison right now, so it would be a ways. I'd have to get it towed to like Montgomery or Mobile or somewhere like that. So I had to be back at work the next day. This is not going to work, so okay, let's figure this out. So I go outside and I, start looking at the damage. The dashboard's toast, but, the switch still works and the key. Use my pocket knife, and I stripped back the battery cables and just twisted them together, got the battery cables back going again. The dashboard is toast. Obviously what had happened is, at some point they had cut all the wires to all the interior lights and the headlights. They had cut all the wires, but then twisted them all back together for some reason. So when I put the fuse back in, it just completed the circuit and caught something on fire and just melted the whole dash out of this thing. So I took some wire out of my toolkit. I just kind of, wired the ignition, got a wire to the computer, just wired everything to the battery, basically. Bypassed all the melty bits. And this is one of the things I love that come as diesel, because they're simple, they're easy. You can fix them with a rock. Sure enough, turned the switch on, came back to life, cranked the truck, proceeded to drive it from South Alabama nonstop all the way back to Georgia with no lights, windows down, plastic burning rubber fumes blowing past my nostrils. So get it back to Georgia, and I proceed to have to replace the entire dashboard of this truck, bunch of the weather stripping, a bunch of the climate control system, had to rewire the whole truck. And these are just some of the problems you encounter when you buy an ex-drug smuggler truck.
Shopping for insurance can be an absolute nightmare, but it doesn't have to be, thanks to Policy Genius. They're our sponsor for this month at VINwiki, and you can visit them at the link in the description below. You tell them a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your property, and they find the best deal by shopping amongst all the major carriers at the same time. In fact, you can bundle things like homeowners insurance and auto insurance, and the average user that bundles both of those things saves about $1,100 a year. So be sure to check them out and thank them for their support of VINwiki.